We still have a pretty decent deviation right now between the markets and the moving averages, and we're very close to triggering a sell signal. So if we get, if this market kind of goes lower today, or the rest of this week kind of just slops around a bit, we're going to trigger a sell signal and likely push this market just a tad lower here heading into Christmas. Here's what you need to know before the bell. Yesterday, we talked early on the show before the market opened yesterday that this next 2 weeks, this week and next week, is all about portfolio rebalancing. We saw that yesterday. A bit of the beginning of that. If you owned any of the high beta, high momentum stocks, those got sold off pretty heavily yesterday. The Palantirs, the Nvidias, those type of things that have had really, really big returns this year so far, all kind of really got hit. You saw the same thing really in the top 10, 20% of IWM. You saw a fairly big sell-off yesterday in the small and mid-cap space as well. All those high momentum stocks that are up 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% over the course of this year, all getting sold off yesterday. The reason, not anything fundamental, it's not anything, the market's not crashing, anything like that. All those stocks were grossly overweight. So let's say I own 2% of Palantir in my portfolio. It's now 4% of my portfolio, just round numbers. I've got to sell it back down to 2%. I've got to rebalance that back to my portfolio weight. As we talked about yesterday, and this is part of today's article on the website, if you take a look at the market performance this year, stocks versus bonds, it puts stocks at about 65% of a 60-40 portfolio. So we saw the beginning of that push yesterday, selling off some of those high beta, high momentum names. It was a very big drawdown in momentum yesterday because of that. So again, we saw money kind of rotating in the market. We saw a lot of those high beta names getting sold off. You didn't have a good day if you're a big high beta chaser. Low beta names got a little bit of money flow because they're the most underweight, right? Those stocks have not performed well this year. So those stocks that are owned got brought up to weight in portfolios during that rebalancing process. But this is that process we're talking about. So we're likely to see a little bit more slop. Markets are kind of flattish this morning. We'll see if we can kind of get a little bit of a recovery. But we still have a pretty decent deviation right now between the markets and the moving averages, and we're very close to triggering a sell signal. So if this market kind of goes lower today, or the rest of this week kind of just slops around a bit, we're going to trigger a sell signal and likely push this market just a tad lower here heading into Christmas. That's okay. As we talked about what happened yesterday in the markets and what's going on right now is going to set you up for basically, adding some exposure for the year-end rally. I would just be a little bit reticent about doing it this week as we kind of get through these distributions and rebalancing. That's what you need to know before the bell this morning.